Good evening. Welcome back to the channel. My name's Eric. If you're new here, I'm a former Marine. I served in the Navy also. I got out in 2006 after being medically discharged. I'm a 100% disabled vet. I'm a husband, a father, and an average guy. This channel is about trying to break things down that's happening around the world in a way that the average person like myself can understand it and give my spin and my take on what's going on in the world using the experiences I've gained through the military and life. One thing, or the thing that I want to talk about today, is the breaking news story that the U.S. has given a 1-month pause to the imposed 25% tariffs on Mexico. And so what that means is Mexico's come to the table and they want to talk, right? And that's negotiations between the White House and the Mexican government. And what has actually happened is that the president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, has agreed to send 10,000 of their National Guard troops to the U.S.-Mexico border. And response to that, the U.S. will investigate its part in trafficking weapons from the United States to Mexico. So let me kind of touch base on that real quick and where she and the Mexican government are coming from with that. So this is just a for instance in the research that I've done, and take it with a grain of salt. But this is what I figured out, having seen it being down near close to the border for a while. So let's just say you buy a weapon, regardless if it's an assault weapon, a pistol, shotgun, doesn't matter. And you want to get rid of that weapon. You then in turn sell it to a third or a second party, another U.S. citizen or someone you don't know. You found them on Facebook or what have you. And then they take that weapon and they either ship it to Mexico or they resell it, and they're selling it to a member of a Mexican cartel, or they sell it to someone else, another average citizen, and that average citizen wants to get rid of it and sell it. And weapons change hands all the time, but what's happening is that once that cartel member or even a Mexican citizen is going to buy this weapon and be like, this is pretty cool, I'm going to take it back to my country. And then it gets put in the hands of the cartel member. And that weapon that was bought, for the purposes of whatever, self-defense or home defense, or just because it looked cool, is now in the hands of a cartel member, and they're using it to fight the Mexican government. And obviously that's a problem for the Mexican government. And when we talk about trade negotiations and these tariffs and stuff like that, it's a give and take. We need to understand and accept the fact that they're asking for something, and they need to do the same. And it's no different than, two people that want to have a discussion and come to an agreement and make a deal. Now, what needs to be done is, obviously, that certain states have put, like my state, for instance, have put in place a law that requires you to go and, before you sell a weapon to a private individual, you have to get a background check done. If you can't prove that you bought the pistol, rifle, shotgun, whatever weapon it is. If I can't prove that I bought the weapon, then I need to get a background check to prove that A, I'm not a criminal, and B, that weapon actually does belong to me as far as the database is concerned. And then the individual that I'm selling it to will then also get a background check, no different than if they were to purchase it brand new. Some people have an issue with this. I consider myself a law-abiding citizen, so I don't have a problem with it. If it means that I'm doing right by the government and keeping the weapon that I don't want anymore out of the hands of somebody that I don't know that could possibly be a criminal, I don't see the harm in that. And as far as I would say the center of of America is concerned, I believe that they shouldn't have a problem with it either. Now, left or right, regardless, it doesn't matter. But I'm just talking about from the center of the road where I live. So, all right, just getting back into this. So the 10,000 troops that Mexico has agreed to send to the border, they're there to help curb the illegal immigration that's coming from their side to the United States, and also to help stop or to curb again the flow of fentanyl and fentanyl precursors from Mexico into the United States. And so the president of Mexico brought that to the table, and obviously Trump listened and has agreed. So we're sitting at a 1 month reprieve, and we'll figure out what happens. And I'll touch more base on what might happen after the 1 month here in a little bit. So I'll just pull this up here. It's the active duty personnel that are headed down to the border or already there. So it's made up of 1,000. This was last week, by the way. Made up of 1,000 U.S. Active duty U.S. Army and 500 Marines. Now that's to augment the roughly 2,500 that's already down there. So just so everyone knows, there's already 2,500 U.S. military down there. We just added 1,500 more. So a lot of people have asked me, like, "Hey, Eric, what are the military doing down there? Why is the Marines down there?" And what they're doing down there is more logistics and surveillance. The Marines, as you can see here, they're from Camp Pendleton, from the 1st Marine Division, they're from the 1st Marine Expeditionary Force, or 1MEF. And then Army has people from all over, from Texas to Kentucky, New York, Georgia, Colorado, back to Texas. And they're made up of combat engineers and military police, whether it's a battalion or a company. But I'm sure it's not all of them, because it's 1,500 people in total, 1,000 from the Army. So it's not all of the 100% of these units haven't gone to the Mexican border. Just FYI. So, and from what the White House is saying, that number is going to fluctuate a little bit, and it could go up, it could go down over the next couple months, and depending on what's going on down there and what the needs of the Customs and Border Protection are asking for. And again, these military members, they're not down there to be a defense of the border. That's what Customs and Border Protection is for. What the U.S. military members that have been ordered down to the border, therefore, is logistics and infrastructure, surveillance, meaning watching the border. They might walk the border. They might, use night vision goggles and look across the border, see for drug mules or illegals coming across or something like that. Anything that they can do to augment the Customs and Border Protection agents that are understaffed and they're at their wits' end and they just need help. So that's what these people are down there for. And they're bringing to the table, like the police companies, for instance, from the Army. They're bringing their law enforcement knowledge to the table. And the logistics side of it, the combat engineer side of it from the Army and the Marine Corps, those guys are, don't shoot me on this, but they're basically construction workers. And that's a layman's term. So don't roast me on that. They do a lot more than what that is. But I believe in the capacity that they're going down there for is to fix the infrastructure, concertina wire, fix the border wall. There's more influx of people, so they're going to need places to sleep, so they can build those type of things. There's a whole plethora of stuff that combat engineers do. So don't take the term combat engineers as they're going down there with guns ablazing, because that's not what's happening. Now, on the same token, I just want everyone to be aware that you as an individual, an average citizen, and the military, there's this thing called the inherent right to defend yourself. And heaven forbid that something happens down there and there's a firefight or there's an aggressor coming across the border. Those military members, regardless if they're with CPD or the Customs and Border Protection at all, they have the inherent right to defend yourself just like you or me. And I hope that they have the means to do so, because it's not like it's a war zone down there, but it is a hostile environment, and you should be, if you're in a hostile environment, you should be able to protect yourself. So hopefully they've been given the means to do that. Now, again, I don't want to really get into it, but it's kind of there's a term called the Posse Autonomous Act, and that was so basically what that says is the U.S. government can't use the U.S. military to enforce domestic law. That's the simple term of it, or the simple way to put it, but that's what it is. And every military member of the U.S. Armed Services falls under that, and that includes anyone from the Army down to the Coast Guard. And we all fall under that act and you cannot have the U.S. military enforce domestic law. So that's not what they're doing, but they have the right to defend themselves. Oh, anyway, got a little off subject right there, so let's kind of get back into it. So, what happens if Mexico doesn't entertain this idea of, or take a step back? What happens if the White House does not like how Mexico has responded to this 1 month pause in the tariff? Well, in my experience, what would happen is the White House or President Trump would go back to the table and be like, hey, you didn't do what you were supposed to do, or I don't like what you did, or you didn't do enough. So here's what happened, and the tariffs are being put back into place. And they may not be 25%. They could go back to what they did in 2019 during his first term and say, all right, next month we're going to impose a 5% tariff. And we're going to ramp that up by X percent every month until I'm happy with the result. And then at that point, we're playing a chess game, and then the president of Mexico can come back and be like, okay, I hear what you're saying, but we're going to do this. I'm going to bring back, 2,000 troops of our National Guard from the border that I requested, or that you requested. So then we're playing a tit for tat type thing, and hopefully that doesn't happen. But the big issue, in my opinion, and if these tariffs do go through, and again, whether you think they're a good thing or a bad thing, that's besides the point. Again, this is all my opinion. If these tariffs get put on Mexico, they're going to hurt our economy, and they're going to hurt the Mexican economy, because there's a lot of things that come from Mexico that a lot of people don't really realize. If you're driving a certain manufacturer of truck right now, that's probably built in Mexico. Parts and pieces from computers get sent all over the world, and they go to Mexican businesses, and they get put together, and then they get shipped up to the United States. We resell certain things that Mexico has, and they bring it up to us for that reason. Now, one thing that a lot of people need to remember is we got away from NAFTA, and that's the North American Free Trade Agreement. And I believe that was 2019. So we got into an agreement under Donald Trump's first term with Canada and Mexico to make our ties stronger between trade. And what that did is, up until that point, Canada was our largest trade partner in the world. When I say us, the United States. In I believe it was 2019, 2020, somewhere around there, Mexico surpassed Canada because of this new agreement. So we get a lot of things from them. They, the auto industry, they could take roughly, from my research, like a $33 billion hit to the auto industry, which is going to cause these businesses and these owners of these businesses to up the price of goods. I it could go anywhere from thousands to $10,000 per vehicle could be increased. We get avocados and beer, certain beers, and tomatoes. Again, auto parts, fuel. Fuel comes from Mexico. Not as much as Canada, but we do get fuel from Mexico and South America as a whole. Like different countries ship stuff to Mexico, and Mexico then repackages it, reboxes it, and ships it to America. So it's all a give and take. And if these trades or these tariffs get put in place, it's going to hurt them and it's going to hurt us, and it's not a win for anybody. So again, this is a huge chess match between the U.S. government, Donald Trump, the president, Sheinbaum, and the Mexican government. Like it's a huge chess match, and it's all about what are you willing to live with. Just like if I was to trade something with you, and you want $100, but I want to pay you $80, no different. It's just on a larger scale that affects us all instead of me and you on a personal level. So that's pretty much it for today, guys. I hope you all found this informative. If you did, please like and subscribe. I'm trying to grow this channel and get more word out there on certain topics that I feel passionate about. Please, like I said, like and subscribe. Follow me for more information on everyday world events. Thank you. Have a good evening.